Guys, can Babidi or someone from the Majin race return? It would be cool to have someone new with the power to control people. As shown in the new Dragon Ball trailer, Babidi appears to be a very important piece in the plans of the villains of this new anime, named Dragon Ball Daima. As we know, Babidi is an extremely powerful wizard who can basically make a creature or even bring a creature back, which in this case would be Majin Buu. We also know that if this type of power falls into the wrong hands, the villains could making and bringing back new creatures, which by the way, would be absurdly powerful, especially because it seems that Goku and Vegeta are weakened now. If we were to really take into consideration Dragon Ball Super, in this case all the stories, it would be impossible to bring Babidi or Majin Buu back, since the power level has already increased by several levels, unless some Majin Buu returned, for example, Kid Buu, and then he began to absorb all the warriors, even absorbing Vegeta and Goku. And so, he would actually be much stronger, but it would be difficult for them to reach a level of power similar to that of Goku and Vegeta without any absorption. Guys, if you're enjoying the video, leave a like and help the channel grow even more. Let's help the channel. And now let's go back to the video. In Dragon Ball Daima, we need to highlight the fact that the villains have a very explicit interest in Majin Buu and even Babidi himself, who perhaps wants to use his magic to, who knows, create an army or some very powerful supervillain. We don't know exactly what they plan. We just know that if Babidi's power falls into the wrong hands, it will be harmful to the universe, since currently the only ones who can fight on equal terms with Majin Buu, with several absorbed warriors, would be even Beerus if he wasn't turned into a child, which is very unlikely, and we also need to evaluate that. And there's Whis, or someone with a similar level of power, precisely because they have no way of fighting back. For example, Goku and Vegeta were transformed into children. They can barely use their powers properly, so it would be impossible for them to be able to face Majin Buu if he returned, for example. Even with Kid Buu, if he came back, it would be impossible to fight back or rival. But unfortunately, it is very likely that the wizard Babidi will return, and in this way create a new villain, perhaps even more powerful than Kid Buu. In this way, it would be impossible for Earth if Goku and Vegeta remain in this child form forever. For a long time otherwise, they might find a way to find the spheres and reverse this, although, of course, it would also be quite difficult. Someone that fans are theorizing could appear in a film is Android 21, who is a kind of female android with characteristics of Majin Buu's race, for example, pink skin and everything. She's a very beloved character. Although she hasn't really been canonized yet, it's something more fan-made, so it's quite possible that she'll appear in the future in some adaptation, or even in the manga itself. We don't know exactly, but the chances are very good. Hi, if Babidi really returns, he could very well present some new type of power, even the power to control people. Since the villains want his powers, they will probably make some alliance. And with Babidi's powers, he will certainly control a person. For example, some god of destruction, some Saiyan. We have a lot of things to analyze. It's quite possible that Babidi will actually be able to come back. And if he comes back, he will definitely join the villains to try some new plan. Maybe even world domination or bring someone who has already been defeated back. For example, it's possible that even Madimbu Bolt, although any version other than the Majin book, is still present today. In this case, for example, whoever would appear would be the good guy, or some version of Majin Buu, even Evil Bao. Of course, it wouldn't be 100% Majin Buu, it would be a kind of replica, especially because the original was exterminated by Goku, and if he had a reincarnation would be the Uber that has already appeared, so it is quite possible for them to use the Uber, or a good original. Perhaps a replica that does not have the powers, but has the same main abilities as Majin Buu himself. For example, absorbs people he could absorb. For example, Vegeta. Or they could use Vegeta as a pact, just like in the Majin Buu saga when Majin Vegeta appeared. In this case, it would actually be much more versatile for them to control Vegeta, for example, or even Goku. So in this way, they could find a way to leave both of them with full power, and then they could use Goku and Vegeta for evil. Only at some point, Goku and Vegeta would certainly free themselves from control, and then they, with full powers, would leave all the warriors who were transformed into children in their original state. Then they would defeat the villains, and consequently defeat Babidi, the Majin Buu, and any villain who stood in his way. In other words, would actually be a simpler solution to a more complex problem. But this is still very difficult for us to say. The only thing we are sure of is that the villains want something to do with Babidi. And in this way, the chances of someone from the Majin race returning are astounding. They are truly stark. That is, so if we really analyze it, they might find some way to bring both Majin Buu, Babidi, or any other villain that Babidi himself created. That way they would come back much more powerful. It could also be that they have a plan to revive a villain who has already been defeated, and consequently leave him under Babidi's mental controls, as was the case with Vegeta, for example. It would be really crazy for us to see a Cell, Frieza, etc. being controlled by Babidi. In this way, it is quite possible for the Z Warriors to get into trouble. Of course, we also have to analyze that they should not just be stuck with other villains who have already been defeated. They will probably hunt some other villain, for example, the gods themselves of destruction. They can try to control Beerus or some other god of destruction, because we don't know what the intentions of these villains are. If they really want to destroy the world, just basically control some god of destruction and keep Goku and Vegeta children so they won't be able to do anything, basically. I believe that the chances of Goku and Vegeta not being able to do anything are much greater, and if they continue to be children, they definitely wouldn't be able to do anything. Of course, if Babidi returns to current times, where Goku is stronger, he's not a child, he has all his power 100%. He couldn't do anything unless he puts and controls someone to fight. In case, if this option really came to light, it would be quite difficult for all of them to be able to win. Especially because let's suppose that Babidi starts to control Vegeta, as he did in the most classic saga. Basically, there would be two powers facing each other. In this case, it would be Goku and Vegeta. Imagine a more current version of that fight between Goku and Vegeta. It would be simply sensational. The two greatest Saiyajins fighting each other, a fight that would certainly be very well balanced and would even be scary. If we take into account that Goku and Vegeta are the most powerful, it would simply be one of the best fights easily. And this is simply sensational if we really stop to think about it. After all, they are the two most powerful Saiyans. One against the other would be simply incredible. Of course, this is just a hypothesis of what could happen, and I sincerely hope it happens. Precisely because it would be one of the best fights, since the two would really use brute strength, or a resistance fight. After all, they prefer this type of fight, rather than using powers from afar, for example. It would be simply incredible. So, returning to the initial question, yes, it is possible that Babidi could return at some point in history. But, if he comes back, he might have to use some trick to become powerful. He might control some god of destruction or some very powerful character. Because if he tried to go after Goku or Vegeta, or even Gohan, Goten, or Trunks would be kind of useless. Precisely because currently they are much more powerful than the Babidi from the Majin Buu saga. So he would have to make some of them be absorbed and thus create some new creature more powerful. Or he can control the mind of someone who is very powerful too. In short, it is possible and even more possible in this new adaptation of Dragon Ball Daima. Guys, the video will end here. Did you like the themes? Comment. I would love to know the opinion of other Dragon Ball fans about what could happen in the work. Remember, I left your like and subscription. This helps the channel a lot. Oh, and also it would be wonderful if you shared this video with your friends. You know, those friends who are passionate about Dragon Ball. Anyway, I count on your support and see you later.